rearranging the geometry of the body is about creating a divine form from an ordinary flesh and bone system that we have. These 114 chakras, if we rearrange them in a certain way, a complete different possibility becomes available around those forms. So in India, such people get referred to as Bhagwan. What we refer to as the universe or as cosmos is essentially a complex amalgamation of forms. All these forms, planets, stars, the whole systems, these are all forms. When these forms evolve over a period of time to become efficient forms, seemingly perpetual, they have become seemingly perpetual in our experience because of the perfection of geometry that they have arrived at. It's not something that it suddenly happened. Each one of these forms have evolved over a period of time. Certain forms which evolved beyond a certain point. When I say a certain point, if a form evolves beyond what the human form is competent of doing, then we would refer to that as the divine form, because anything that is above our capability and competence becomes divine in our experience. So when we say divine forms, the misunderstanding in the monotheistic religions is that those who have many forms have lost their way. That is, they do not know what divinity is, they have invented too many images. These forms are not invented, they're derived. By observing the nature of the universe, identifying that certain forms are able to perform and exist in a reverberance which is beyond what is normally considered human, then all those forms we identified as divine forms, which are worthy of looking up to. Above all, these are forms we have to learn how to use, how to become accessible to these forms which are more competent forms than our own form. There are natural forms on this planet which can function in a higher intensity than the human form, or we can assemble forms, or we can create forms, a certain combination of forms which will function in a higher way than the way we are right now. In fact, the whole system of yoga is just about arranging or rearranging your own form. These 114 chakras, which are a certain energy forms by themselves, if we rearrange them in a certain way, the same human being who has just flesh and blood, living within the compulsive nature of that dimension of life, can suddenly be transformed into a higher possibility. It is those people who have transformed themselves or the geometry of their existence to a higher level, either by realization or by understanding or by sheer intensity of energy or emotion. They have transformed themselves into a higher geometric form so that their very presence exudes a completely different dimension of energy, a complete different possibility becomes available around those forms. Then we refer to those forms as divine forms. So in India, such people get referred to as Bhagwan, or there are so many other names which essentially means godlike or divine. The nature of the human body has come with a certain arrangement. There's a whole science which has become a very quasi kind of science these days because of the intuitive sciences have fallen on bad places because general integrity in the society has fallen. People start saying things, guesswork is considered intuition. Otherwise, whenever a child is born, usually in India, they used to call a person who's intuitive, who'd come and observe the geometry of the child's body and would say, this is what is possible in this child's life. Not by looking at the stars, but simply looking at the geometry of the child's body, the energetic geometry of the child's body. Probably most of you have heard about how a certain person predicted Gautama, the Buddha's future. He said he will either become a great emperor or a great saint. So this may, for logical minds, this may look like, oh, this is, come on, this or that. Both sides of the coin, if you say you're bound to be right. No, he's only talking about looking at the intensity of the geometry. He's saying, either in the material world he will achieve great things. Because he's a king's son, he's saying maybe he will become a great emperor. Or because of a certain observation, if such intensity is there in the child, why would he waste his time ruling over people? He would rather embrace them, which is more sensible to do. He would rather transform them, which is more sensible to do. So, he said the intensity is going beyond being an emperor. Being a king's son, probably he will become an emperor. But when I look at the intensity of the geometry, maybe he will become a great sage. Well, he turned out the other way around. He was not wrong in that prediction. If he had fallen back in his life for some reason, maybe he would have become a great emperor, a conqueror. Maybe he would have conquered many lands and become a great emperor. Great emperors did not happen without so much guile, violence and many things which most people wouldn't want to do in their lives. To be a great emperor, you have to do many things that a whole lot of sensible people will not be willing to do. So Gautama chose the other way around and the prediction was not wrong. The prediction is he is looking at the seed and this can become a great tree. So the geometry of the body, rearranging the geometry of the body is about creating a divine form from an ordinary flesh and bone system that we have. Is something wrong with flesh and bone? Nothing wrong, it comes with its limitations. It's a compulsive form. Is something wrong being compulsive? Nothing wrong if you don't appreciate what it means to be free, nothing wrong being compulsive. Is something wrong being a creature on this planet? Nothing wrong. It is just that if you die without exploring the possibility of being something more, human life does not get fulfilled. Every life, from the smallest to the biggest, is aspiring to become a full-fledged life. Because the human being has come with this possibility which is quite limitless, because of that, people are trying to fix their ambitions and goals in their life. What is a seamless possibility? People are trying to fix it so that they will feel like achievers. If they pass an examination, they feel great. If they get a job, they feel great. If they earn $1 million, they feel great. Some nonsense like this. This is like among the lame people, you're a champion just because you have 2 legs. Human possibility has come with a seamless possibility. There is no way you or me can fix a goal, if I reach this, I'm done. It's a stupid way to culture one's life. If you arrange your inner geometry properly, this becomes a machine to go very far. How far it goes internally is entirely determined by the human being, the individual being. But how far it goes in the world are determined by the times, by the society, the social structures, so many things. You may get knocked down on the way. You may not get crucified, somebody may run you down on Highway 8, you know. So, how far we get in the world are subject to many things. How far we get within ourselves is just a question of arrangement of geometry, understanding, realization, understanding and the competence of being able to arrange it. The whole yogic system, starting from the physical phase of asanas to everything, is essentially to reorganize or to re-engineer our geometry in such a way that it begins to function in a way that you have not imagined possible till now. To live your life beyond your ambitions. The stupid ambitions have come to you because of a limited society in which you're living. Based on that, if you are a little one step ahead of your neighbor, your ambitions are realized. No, 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 I'm not just thinking about this, I want to be the richest man in United States. It is still among the lame. Among the lame, you're a champion, that's all. So, a seamless possibility need not be encapsulated into something silly based on the circumstances in which we are living right now.